Multiple personality disorder, now also known as DID, is a mental health diagnosis for people who have split identities. How is that possible, you ask? Well, I'll let my guest answer that since she suffered from it for many years, but I'll say one thing: it's not what the doctors tell you.
No one could describe to me what was going on. And my mom just used to say, well, because your dad is dealing with those spirits, that's why he's all crazy and out of control. But I'll never forget, like, I'm going into my dad's house and I'm like, hey, dad, what's going on? And he's literally just like, his posture's different. He's swaying and moving almost like a woman. His legs are crossed. His voice has changed. And I'm looking at him like, what is going on? And so everyone wanted to use the word schizophrenic. They tried to say that my dad was schizophrenic and maybe he was dealing with some type of multiple personality disorder. But how can you say that it's that when as I'm walking into his house, I literally am being flung across the room because a dark energy is in the house at the same time and trying to get me away from him. Or as I'm standing right there in front of his face, the person that is possessing him is saying to me, well, when you get to talk to your father, make sure that you tell him that in order to successfully do this spell, he's going to need this, he's going to need that, and he's going to need that. Oh, and just so you know, I know what you've been doing with those boys, and I'm going to tell your father. Like, and then the spirit would literally say to me, like, what I did yesterday when my brother was not around. And so I would look and be like, who are you? Who are you? And where's my dad? And oh, don't worry about what my name is. Just make sure you tell him my message. And all of a sudden, just like that, my dad would come back. Oh, Elizabeth, when did you get here? You just got here? Well, did you get to talk to her? And I was like, yeah, but who is her? And he was like, don't worry about that. Just tell me what she said. You know, like I just tell me what she said because I need to know. And I would just relay the message of the exact details of whatever this entity or this spirit was that was talking through my father. And then he literally would get up out of his seat. He would write down everything I said. And then he'd be like, you want, like, come on, come with me. And we would go and we would grab whatever of the materials that she said. And then he would say it. He was like, thank you, because like I'm working on this spell for this lady. She's gonna pay me $50,000, and I just needed the rest of it, so I had to ask her for help. Like just like that. So I'm like, how is that schizophrenia? When now I'm doing my own research and I'm like, the name that he said of that spirit could actually, you could go back into history and find evidence that that spirit been around for a long time. And he literally was summoning them by purposely going and buying the statue, creating an altar for them, and putting their favorite foods and what they like to drink and eat right there. We had parties and celebrations, giving them their offerings. So no, this is not schizophrenia. It can't be, you know? And so I would witness that. It was probably like seven different ones, men, women, young, old, all different types that he was using them. And again, I was even scared. Like there's people that know me that have gone to visit my dad with me. There's a girl, and she probably will watch this and say, yeah, I remember that. She came with me and I was like, oh, wait in the living room. I'm going to go use the bathroom, meet my dad. And one of the entities came in and told her one of her deepest, darkest secrets that I didn't even know. And then the entity left. And when I came back, she looked white like a ghost. And she was like, I'm leaving and I'm never coming back here again. Like, where did you bring me? This is too much. And I never ever heard from her again. And she said it. She said, what your dad just said to me, you don't even know, Elizabeth. So how did he know that? How did he know that? And she still to this day did not reveal to me what it was. She just was in shock that my father even knew it with just meeting her right there and then. So that's just like one of the many stories. And so seeing my dad going through that, everyone tried to say he had a mental illness and he was an alcoholic and he was just crazy. But again, he was making thousands of dollars by doing successful spells for people, getting people out of prison, getting women who were doing love spells and trying to get their husband removed from like another woman, and that they were forcing him to be with them, and then coming back and having that spell reversed. Like all these type of spells that people were like really after. I was seeing him do it.
Yeah, there's so many people that I hear of are in the comments and they say, oh, that's just schizophrenia. And on many stories, that's just schizophrenia. That's just psychosis. Oh, that's multiple personality disorder. We know what that is. There's no level of mental illness that's going to reveal secrets to someone that's never seen you before.
Nope.
No matter how you want to rationalize it, it's impossible. So that's spirits, that's demons, whatever you want to call it. This is something supernatural. It's not something that happens in the brain. But now let's get to when you started to experience that. So we can get a firsthand testimony of kind of what it feels like to be controlled by these personalities, quote unquote. So how did this start with you? How old were you? And can you explain how it slowly developed over time?
So I want to say that my parents said that they started seeing signs that I was going to be someone that could be influenced, because that's actually a positive thing, because then it shows that I can be used in this practice. And I was young. I was young where I was kind of having these experiences where I would just like walk off and walk away. And, I was saying that I was talking to things that just weren't there. But as far as like me, myself, I want to say it started getting worse when I was starting to visit my dad. And that first incident that I described, where I was kind of flung across the room by something, it almost felt like whatever it was that was there was trying to enter me, but it didn't. It just didn't at that moment in time. And the only way I could describe it is just like all of a sudden you go from being able to speak to then you just like you just like you I would lose my voice, and then all of a sudden I would feel like I'm just disassociating. Like I'm leaving my vessel, and then something is coming now and then taking control. Which anyone who knows about like Santeria Voodoo, again, this is glorified and you're called like a caballo, like a horse. It means that you're a vessel and a person that a spirit can actually ride like a horse. Like you can be ridden, you can be possessed. That's not, and it doesn't happen to just anyone. And I used to look at that as I had something wrong with me, but I don't look at it that way. And I try to rationalize it like other people too. And I went to doctors to try to get checked because I was having these experiences where one moment I felt in control of myself. And then the next moment I was just out of my body and I was behaving like the opposite of who I am. People describe me, for a long time, I was acting like a man. I was acting like a man. I dressed like a man. I didn't want nothing to do with being with a man. I was with women. Then I would change again into like this just very deadly person. Then I would change again into this very like sexual, like literally sexually obsessed. Like at any cost, wanting to just be touched or touch someone, and it was possessed. It was obsessive because the thought would be intrusive. Like I'm just trying to have a normal day, and then it would just be intrusive, and then I all of a sudden would feel like just really sensual, and I would want to dress a certain way that just didn't even match who I was. And now I'm going out of my way to go be seen in certain places and revealing my body, literally throwing myself on the person, whoever I met that night, sleeping with them. And so this started happening to me. And I had a substance abuse going on at this time too, not because of for fun, but because I was trying somehow to try to control what was going on. I felt like maybe if I got drunk enough, or maybe if I smoked enough, I could be numb enough to where this wouldn't bother me, and I could kind of like exist. Or I just dove head into like a lot of what I had to do. I was top student in school. I was captain of the cheerleading squad. I was in student government. I was trying to excel. Like by the time I was 14 and you can have a job, I got a job and I was working, just doing things to try to keep myself busy. And so that I wouldn't be in this state of feeling like I'm not myself, because I didn't like it and I couldn't explain it. And I was going crazy because I was trying to do research to figure it out. Never forget picking up psychology books, sociology books, and like going to the doctor and explaining to them what was going on with me. But their only answer was, well, yep, you're crazy. Something's wrong with you and you just need to take medications. But the medications was making it worse. The medications was making me like a zombie. It was causing me to be easily even more possessed, and having more of these experiences. So I was scared. I was extremely scared, and I felt like I had no way out because doctors wasn't really helping me. And then at that time, again, I just can't remember not one person ever saying, I want to pray for you. I can't remember that. I just remember being isolated, being like pushed away by people, like just literally be like felt abandoned. I felt abandoned. And at this point too, my family couldn't even understand what was going on. And so they even was just like, you're just acting crazy. We don't know what's wrong with you.